Welcome back for another edition of Less Kevin,
More Tech.
from UTECIT.com.
It's exciting.
So today's guest, we worked last night for a couple hours, right, Les, trying to have a funny opening, and our guest said, "Hey, no monkey business,"
Right?
because she's all business, right? We're talking with Dr. Suzy Siegle from Walsh College.
Thank you
Welcome.
so much.
We're excited.
Thank you.
Pumped.
Yeah.
Me too.
So hey, so start us off here. Tell us a little bit about your role. You know how you got there, and then we'll go into some ideas.
Well, we probably need to have a disclaimer.
So,
because like that side of the table is going to be super duper smart. You know,
Right,
that's a big word for me, by the way. This side of the table,
we're out
you know,
of our league.
I think between what you have brothers and sisters, what, 9 of them?
yeah, I have 7 brothers.
Seven brothers and
Yeah.
sisters. I have 3, so we got what, 13 between us?
Yeah.
How's that for math?
Right. See
And we
this?
combined don't have as many degrees as Dr. Suzy has.
That
Do we?
is true.
Well, don't worry. I'm not going to go into those too much, but thank you both so very much. So I have the best job in the world. I have the privilege of serving as Walsh College's president and, as I say, chief champion.
Chief champion.
My job is to make sure we're championing our mission into our next 100+ years. So I'm very
Fantastic.
grateful. And Walsh College, if you know a little bit about our history, it's really an incredible college. I'm not sure there's any college that is like Walsh in the world. We are an upper division, which means we don't take students in the first 2 years. We work with our community college partners, and then we take them in the upper division, like the junior and senior year for their undergrad, and then they continue on, hopefully with us, for a grad degree. We have several master's degrees in business and technology, and we also have a doctoral program. And our business programs, not only in our technology programs, are we accredited by HLC, so that is the strongest accreditation that a college can have. It's regional accreditation. We also have ACBSP for our business programs, and our technology programs are recognized and validated by NSA. So we are a National Security Agency Center for Excellence, and we're very, very proud of that. So we have real-world education for real-world results. Our students are professionals when they come to us, and they leave with even more professionalism and leadership.
So
I tell you, this is going to be the easiest podcast in the world. This is like a llama over here. You know what I mean? You pull the cord and it just goes, right?
Well, this is my favorite topic to talk about.
So what? I mean, you're an author, right? Public speaker, and education. But what drew you to this?
Hold on. Not only an educator, but there's a law degree in there too, right?
Yeah, there is. I
And
try not to talk about that too
something
much.
about neuroscience or something too, right there.
So what drew you to that? Because you could have had a choice of.
Sure. So I grew up about 1.5 miles from Walsh College. I used to run by Walsh, and I remember it so well as being this beacon of business education. And when I was working my way through college, anybody remember service merchandise? I'm really dating myself, right? Okay. You could never buy anything at service merchandise. You had to grab the little ticket, take it to package pickup. And I was working retail, putting myself through college, and there were several managers there that were going to college at Walsh, going to school at Walsh to better their lives. And I just loved the story of that. And I admit, I went to University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. So it was a very different type of institution, a great institution, but it's not like Walsh. And I think the Walsh education is superior and second to none. So when the opportunity came to be involved at Walsh, to have a leadership role there, I was so grateful. I was like, this is amazing, because if I were going to build an entrepreneurial college, it would look like Walsh, business and technology. And I had been kind of dreaming about that. That was my doctorate in higher education, leadership and management, with a focus on 21st century higher ed innovative operating models. So doing things differently than what other higher eds are doing so we can be prepared for the future. So I love education because I love in the higher education community, you can have conversations that you don't have anywhere else. I love being able to work with a leadership team of colleagues, and we have that at Walsh. I love the work faculty do because that's happening right in the classroom. That's the heart and soul of what we are doing at Walsh. And I love the idea of taking higher ed into the next millennia. And that's cool. And there's so many things we can talk about. I know we will later on what we're doing with that. So it's bigger than just Walsh. But Walsh, to me, it's like the best business college, best business and technology college in the world. We know that.
And it's got a personal tie for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Even though I'm not an alum, I feel so invested from the sense that I grew up around there. I know folks, and it is such an incredible responsibility to steward that ship into the next 100 plus years. And we just celebrated 100 years. It was founded in 1922 by an entrepreneur, Mervyn Walsh. He was actually the accountant for the Thomas Edison Company. So you got all these really cool, entrepreneurial, innovative pieces in our DNA.
Right.
See, I think that's what would be fun about your role is just all the smart, intelligent, driven people that you get to work with on a daily basis up there that come through the programs and the entrepreneurs. It's just really cool.
Yes, it's an incredible environment. I mean, the faculty are incredible. I love being able to talk with them about what's going on in their classrooms, with their students, how they're teaching, the different labs we do. We have so many hands-on. We have a finance lab, a cyber lab, a car lab. And then just be in that environment where you are always, growing and learning new things and asking questions.
So, Suzy, I heard a lot there, right? So one of the things that are piquing my interest, you're talking about taking it to the next 100 years. I heard the word change. I heard the word entrepreneur. How is all that tying? What's been your major initiatives? Sure. And what are you looking in the near future?
Sure. So in my role as the president and chief champion, I'm responsible. In fact, we all have vision statements at the college, and I have one for myself as the president. And the vision statement is to keep the college not only strong, but really thriving in the future, financially, reputationally. You want to do that for the alumni. We have incredible alumni. And so we're really proud as a leadership team, because I always look at leadership as it's never just a solitary pursuit. I have leaders that have different skill sets than I do, so we complement each other. And we looked at Walsh and we said, look, what do we do that is exceptionally well? We do hands-on applied learning and in the business and technology area. And our technology programs have been growing. And in fact, I think we learned our BSIT program, our Bachelor of Science in Information Technology, is the second largest program at Walsh next to accounting. Really? And accounting, that would make sense because we started as an accounting and tax college. We have that rich in our history, and we're so proud of that. So we are creating and organizing into a school of business and a school of technology, which already is in existence in a sense with the departments we have, but we have business programs and then we have technology programs. But the organization of these in the two separate schools allows us to take advantage of the synergy of one Walsh, and also we open up naming opportunities, branding opportunities, and we have runways for both of them to excel synergistically. So that's an exciting piece, and you'll be hearing more about that as well. Also, along with that, we're launching a Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. It's in our DNA. Right. We have so many incredible entrepreneurs, not only connected with our alumni, but on our campus. And we're going to be helping them through technology transfer, through workshopping, through entrepreneurship training, entrepreneurs in residence. And we're even looking at starting a really exciting philanthropy venture fund where we can really begin to fund and fuel higher ed. So that's a really big example. I know, like a long answer, but all these things. And what's neat about it is it's knit into the fabric of our DNA. So we're not going off on a road that isn't connected to the heart and soul of Walsh, but we're taking our mission. And by the way, nothing in our mission says we only do credits, degrees, and programs. We do transformational business and technology education to prepare our graduates for successful careers. So that's what's really nice about our mission is it's broad enough that we can expand into the future, yet it's niche enough that we are focused on business and technology.
3 things I picked up there, right? The fact that we're taking a blended program and we're now applying focus, right? And then the second one was the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And then the third one was the fund.
Yes.
So why don't we pick one of them and dive into it?
Well, let's pick the most exciting one and the newest one. And my team, if they're listening to this, is probably going, "Oh, here we go." I know, right?
The secret's out.
Yeah, no, and
give us breaking news, Johnny. Give us music.
I think this is so cool because I think about the different. Let's say pivots, everyone's sick of that word, but the different iterations and change people have had to go through since the pandemic. And it's really been accelerated. And I laugh because I remember having colleagues that, they said, okay, you have, if I put my class online, it's going to take 9 months. And COVID, like, well, you got 2 weeks or 2 days, right? And they're like, okay. So sometimes necessity compels innovation. Yep. And there's been a long history, and we have talked about it, the value proposition of a degree, is the rate of tuition, is it going to outpace inflation, the rising costs in higher ed? And we are aware of that. And even though we know we deliver a solid education, I mean, our students, the ROI is incredible. I mean, they come back and they say, wow, Walsh changed my life. And we're fortunate enough to have students in the business and technology areas, so they naturally are going to pay better. And then when you get your advanced degree, you're going to get promoted. But even beyond that, we thought, education is such a valuable good for the world. It's empowering. It's an equalizer of opportunity, of access. What if we could make it affordable so that students, they're investing their time, they're investing their energy and effort. You talk to any of our students, they'll tell you, oh my goodness, I invested so much time and energy and effort. So it's never free. That's worth something, their time and energy. Time is finite. You don't spend it with family, you're spending it studying. But what if we could alleviate the financial cost because we believe that the value to the business and technology community is there? And then we can build an entrepreneurial venture type fund within our nonprofit structure. So we're in the process of speaking to professionals to help us do that fuels it. It fits in with entrepreneurship. And then it would remove the barriers for anyone who says, look, I'd love to be able to come here to Walsh, but I'm not sure right now I can afford it. And also what it does is it removes the debt. It takes us off of financial aid down the road, and it takes us off of having to rely on tuition so that we don't have to pass that cost to students. We build an ecosystem for business and technology innovation.
So what drove that idea? Where did it come from?
Yeah, so a lot of it is, you get ideas from, you look around and you say, success leaves clues. What are the most successful people and businesses doing? And they're the ones that are visioning big into the future. So some of this came from talking with my team, them giving me feedback on, here's some changing regulations in financial aid. Recently, the governor is going to be reorganizing the State Department of Education. So there's going to be some changes made there that may offer some more restrictions and policies on tuition increases and tuition costs. And that might hurt some private colleges. It may not, it might. And so we're looking at that going, okay, great. If we agree that we definitely want to address cost in higher ed, how do you do it? Business solution. Right. So some of it comes out of the very heart and soul of what Walsh is, a business solution to the problems of the world. And then just being willing to do things differently. And that's one thing about our team is I'll say, look, and I come from higher ed. So people think, oh, she came from business. She doesn't. Like, wait a second. I've been in higher ed since 2005. My doctorate's in higher ed. I'm probably more. But I will tell you, we have to start operating differently. We want to take the best of what higher ed has to offer because they do have a lot of incredible things that business can learn from. And we want to make sure that we're thinking like a business, which is there to solve a value proposition problem. Excuse me, I'm like talking so much. I'm like,
no, I love it.
I'm going to take a sip of that UTEC drink. But anyway, go ahead. So that's where we're looking at going. And that's kind of where it came from. And then you start to talk to folks that are doing venture funding, that are funding nonprofits. And the other thing, too, is this idea of venture philanthropy, impact investing, it's not new. A lot of nonprofits have been doing it. But it gives investors something to say, look, I want to move from success to significance. I'll get a return, too. It's not just asking for money. It's saying, let's invest in the future. Now, imagine if we build this. So it's called Walsh Way Forward. And then it solves the problem not just for Walsh, but it could become the engine that solves it for all private nonprofit higher eds. And it takes the sting of the tuition away.
So you're creating the model.
Yes, we are building and creating what do they call the minimum viable product or prototype. We are literally creating that model. And because we just believe that's a great mission. So now imagine waking up every day and it's not a job, it's a mission. Right. That's a whole different way of showing up. And the team that we attract and retain, they're on board with that mission because they see that what they're doing is bigger than any one of them.
That's exciting. It really is.
Thank you.
That's cool. All right, so that's one of the three.
Yes, one of the three, yeah. And then the Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship is closely connected because this is an innovative entrepreneurial type of activity, but this will also be where we can start to help entrepreneurs, and a lot of our students are, whether they have a position on the side and they're doing something, or they have a job and then they're also starting a company, or they have an idea, or you could work inside of a company, because no matter what you're going to do with your career, you're going to have to learn how to persevere, to problem solve, to innovate, think critically. And it provides a mechanism for them to say, look, I've got this idea, I've got this product. We'll have folks who can help coach them along, like a little workshop that they can go through, a boot camp. We'll have a pitch event at the end. And then we'll really be able to bring in experts to help them make sure that they can have strong, sustainable companies.
So it's
that's
like a Shark Tank.
Yeah, well, that's a component of it, right? The pitch event. But then we want to help them long term so that if they do get some funds, they can be successful. And there's a whole component of that. So we want to build an entrepreneurship, not like curriculum, but sort of a boot camp and then a mastermind too, because you want to stay in community. A lot of times entrepreneurs, they go it alone, and you want them to be in community with other people so that when they hit hurdles, they can bounce ideas off. They can say, okay, what's going on? So we're creating an entity that can do that. And another piece of that entity, which will fuel our Walsh Way Forward initiative, is technology transfer. So say one of our students invents an app, or we're bringing on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Well, AI is huge right now. So AI programs, different things like that. So now if a student comes and says, look, I actually have the next version of Chat GTP, what 12.0, we can say, okay, great, we'll help you with this, and then we can help invest in it, but also we take a portion on the back end as well to help fuel more of this technology transfer. And U of M's been doing it for years, other colleges, a lot of state colleges. Like an incubator.
So, the technology, you'd mentioned AI, and, and a lot of the different technologies, they're more accessible today.
Yes.
And I think that's going to lead, well, actually, let me ask you, what is your thought on business growth and, the hierarchy? Because businesses historically, you got a president, you got VPs, then you got their directors, manager. It's a very triangular shape. And I just see the technology just
flattening it a bit.
Right. And allowing things to get up, running faster.
Okay. So Les, there's a lot there, and I love what you said, because I have a couple thoughts on that. First, let's talk about that. I know he's like, I was like, no, you don't have any thoughts. The mind is just racing. When you talk about the structure of business, and I hear that a lot, it's very, like say vertical, you have the top down. I want to propose that maybe that's a wave that is changing, and you are starting to see companies recognize there's a different model of leadership. Now, it's still extreme accountability. Make no mistake, I'm accountable for every area of the college, so it has to be performing. But I think there's a little bit of a different structure we can look at, and that's why I like to talk about the CEO as being a chief energy officer, not so much the chief executive, because you're going to need other folks on your team who have different skill sets than you, who can make decisions. So when you come to the question of the technology and how is that going to do it, I think it's a tool so that people can use to get decisions faster, or they can get templates faster. So it may replace some of the work we've been doing.
Right.
Like, for example, one of my colleagues, she used Chat GTP to generate sample job descriptions or sample, and I thought, oh, this is really good. And then you work from there. So it didn't replace necessarily her role, but it did take a significant portion of her time away so she could operate at a higher level. Yeah. So if leaders and presidents are really savvy, they'll want their teams to use this so they can get to the highest and best. So just like a calculator, just like a computer versus a typewriter, right? Calculator versus abacus, right? At accounting school, this is a tool to use to really accelerate that. It will cause disruption in the marketplace. Like content marketers, email, nurture campaign writers, copywriters, they just had their industry totally disrupted. But how are they going to use that now to go to the next level? And then the same thing in higher ed. When this first came out, you heard a lot of professors go, oh my goodness, people are going to be cheating with it, And our faculty, they addressed it head on. They took a look at it. Some of them said, boy, you can use AI to detect the use of AI. Right. I was like, oh, that's really savvy. And then you have, warring AIs. But I think you can see it as a tool. In fact, we were just coming out of a doctoral program residency, and somebody asked a question, and one of the faculty says, hold on, let me enter that into Chat GTP. So it's a tool to use. And if you're staying open to a growth mindset, like how can I use this to succeed, rather than try to say, oh, I'm going to stop it, or we got to stop AI. And, everybody has that thought in their head of the movie, right? Where the robots Terminator. Take over. Yeah. Or what is that other movie? I forget what it is. But yeah, I don't think you're going to see that. We are responsible for the future we create. That's though why technology needs to be in the hands of good leaders, Walsh College grads who understand AI, the ethics behind it, and how to use it.
So I think a lot for the history of this area, Southeast Michigan. And in the 70s, there was such disruption when robotics entered the manufacturing process. Get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I see this as a reflection of that era, but it's now, in the business space.
Yep.
And, people and companies are going to adapt and thrive, or they're going to fight it and, potentially fall by the wayside.
And that'll be part of the experiment we're seeing run. I think you're going to see a little bit of both. I look at who are the people that are using it that are succeeding massively, because success leaves clues. Like I want to be around those folks that are using it, and like, how do they use it to go to the next level? Because what'll happen is it's a lever. It's not just a small, sustaining innovation. That's a transformative innovation. So the folks that do use that well, they are going to catapult their success. And we want to be at the forefront of that.
So on the other side of the entrepreneurism, there's the business, right? So people then have careers and, in organizations, large organizations. And historically, we would talk about a career ladder. Yep. And I see that also change. I see it more like a rock climbing.
Oh, I see.
You take a couple steps and you got to go to the, and then, up here. And that's, in terms of career planning, career development, employee development, that's kind of where I'm thinking that's going. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so instead of it being maybe a straight vertical line where you're somewhere for 10 years and 15 years and those options are still there. I mean, there's some careers where that can make sense, especially in medicine, right? Where maybe there's a certain level of you just need to see more surgeries, you need to see more things play out. But I do think that you're going to see things be more of a wave, or it's not linear where you end up. And I've seen some folks, they've actually stepped back, what we would consider back. It's not, it's forward, but they would step back in their careers. Here's a great example, and I love Entrepreneur Magazine because they have these stories. But the lady that invented Lara bars, you see Lara bars at Whole Foods? Okay. So her name was Lara, and she was working, I think, as a marketing exec or maybe in social work. She was doing something. She had a very good paying job. And then she wanted to get into nutrition bars. So she quit her job and began working at a Whole Foods stocking inventory so she could understand, how do the companies that make nutrition bars, how does that inventory flow go? And then she invents her bar and is very successful. Right. So that would look like a step back. It was actually a step forward on the path to success. Yeah. So I think sometimes being able to have that conversation with our students and with other folks to say, look, it's not going backwards, it's moving forward. And a lot of faculty have done that, where they've stepped out of high-performing careers, C-suites, and I would argue that the faculty role is even higher than that, because now you're actually leaving legacy and impact and taking all of that and empowering others. And in a lot of ways it is. And in some ways it does feel different because now you're part of a more, organizational structure. You may not have the same hierarchy and you have to work laterally. And I think that's a good way to work anyway, even in leadership. But anyway, so there is a lot of that. So I do think you're going to see that. I also think you're going to see folks choosing careers a little differently now because they have more data, they have more opportunities. And I think you're going to see entrepreneurship grow. I mean, we're already seeing it. People are filing more 1099s and W-2. I mean, you're seeing just such a growth in entrepreneurship.
Start a YouTube channel.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, and there's entrepreneurs everywhere. We don't think about it, but it's like the influencers are entrepreneurs.
Yeah, right.
And what's beautiful about Walsh is our strong history and depth and expertise in accounting and tax. One of the things we are running out of the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship is a tax and accounting clinic and legal clinic, so that we can help entrepreneurs understand the different tax cadence and payments than if you're an employee, and also the legal structures that they need to set up to manage risk. That's really important. Those concrete nuts and bolts, they'll always be in the history and heart of what Walsh does. We do that very well, and we have exceptional accountants and exceptional tax professionals, and now they get to help take this to the next level. And by the way, accounting, even the CPA exam is changing to incorporate more technology, more AI.
As it should.
And so we were coming along with it. And that's what's so beautiful about the School of Business and the School of Technology is they're side by side.
Okay, so that was the third one.
That was the third one. That was a perfect segue. I know.
So let's roll into that. What are your thoughts on that? What caused you to think of that?
Think big, right? I mean, so we think about Walsh College, and we're growing enrollment. We just saw our summer enrollment is increasing, and that's a phenomenal job by our enrollment team and the leaders in that area. Sure. We had a bunch of product revisions that we did where we were able to, we revitalized our MBA and MBA in organizational resilience. We brought online some really solid technology programs like AI and machine learning, and we revitalized the doctoral program we have to really make that dissertation piece seamless for students. And I want to give credit to our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Dave Skippers, for taking that load on. He's been great with that. He's a process person, and he understands project management, and he understands technology. And then we've had incredible work in our enrollment area and our marketing. Our Chief Operating Officer, Tom, has done a great job integrating data analytics. We have data-driven decisions on everything that we do. So as we started to see the data, we said, wow, really, in order for us to grow and thrive and really be who we say we are in our mission, business and technology, we can accommodate two schools. Yeah. We're growing. And so it allows us to have that both presence. And also it opens up opportunities for companies, for partners, for donors to say, look, I want my name there. I want to partner with Walsh College on a deeper level. And we're already in conversations with folks about that. So that's another component of this, because it really allows CIE to serve both. And it allows both of these colleges. And it also telegraphs to people, look, we're here for technology in the long haul.
Right.
It isn't just an add-on to the business. And I think that's what you've seen too in the last 10 years is technology. A lot of times they were outsourced. We actually insourced technology over the last 5 years, and we're glad we did.
Right.
And we got better results, better cost results, but much better results, much better service. And I think what you're seeing is the technology is the backbone to business, and we're living it now. And we're actually modeling what we did.
So there used to be a debate: does culture drive technology, or is technology driving culture?
Or is it a feedback loop of both,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I know. And what came first? You know, it is interesting because sometimes the technology we've seen in these movies, like, you know, some of these future movies we're seeing now. And you're thinking, wait a minute, you know, what happened? So I go back to one other thing I'll say, and my team loves when I do this. I think they do. They're getting more comfortable with it. You know, the power.
Wait a minute, you think?
I think, yeah. No, that's my qualifier because some folks are like, yeah, but they do. The power of vision. I don't think we can underestimate that enough. And in fact, it was 2022. So last year, 3 physicists for work done decades ago won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work in, ready for this, quantum entanglement. And I know, and I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah, no, but this is important. And the idea is that, you know, our thoughts, all these things do feed into the results we see. And there's some science behind this. There's some physics behind this. So when we set a vision, when we set a goal, and that, to your point about culture and technology, for all we know, we're actually causing that to play out. So the power of our thoughts, the power of our vision, the power of belief. And that's 100%. So important. And that isn't just a, you know, woo-woo thing. I mean, my goodness, the Soviets knew this when they swept the Olympics, drugs aside. They had sports psychologists. They had, you know, they understood the power the brain has. And if you hit a goal and you set a target, you're going to hit it because the brain, that's all it's going to do is figure out how to get there. And then you have to think about the collective nature of thoughts in the world. And the way they won the Nobel Prize, what they demonstrated was the entanglement that can happen across light years. So all of that is like a summary. You're going, oh my goodness, we're not going to get into all that. Although it is in the last chapter of my book, Chief Energy Officer, Quantum Entanglement or Quantum Leadership. I talk about that. But that's an important part of my role is holding that vision for Walsh and driving us toward it. I can't tell you how many times we've put something out there in the universe and it's happened. And we've said, it's too much coincidence to be coincidence. Well, you're actually suspending reality to think that.
Suzy, can you name me any one thing that you've seen in the world that didn't first start as a thought?
No.
Exactly.
Not even a thought. Yeah,
so
exactly. It all starts there. So it's really powerful and it's exciting because it really means it's not like just hope. You know, everybody's like, oh, that's nice. It's like, no, hope is different. This is vision. This is clarity. This is
hope
belief.
Hope is not the strategy.
Hope is not the strategy, right.
Sounds like some of our sales reps' forecasts, huh?
Yeah. So we're excited.
So that's cool. So you got your 3 main things. Now here's a 4th one that I think fits in, but I want to hear from you. We have a business relationship.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you're a client of ours.
Yes.
But we're also a client of yours.
Yes.
So how did that come about? Because when I go into our Troy office, I'm on your campus. And I walk right past, you know, eImagine's headquarters, and I see the huge build-out going out at the front. That looks fantastic.
Thank you. It's the Troy Chamber of Commerce, yes.
I mean, that looks spectacular.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, let's talk about how that happened.
This happened in 30 seconds because Birch met her and said, you gotta come see her.
Yeah.
We went up and saw her. In 30 seconds, we said, we're sold.
Yeah.
How can you not be sold, right?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a little longer than 30 seconds, maybe 31. But I think what happened, I mean, and I want to give my colleague Eric Van Dyke a lot of credit here, too. He's our Executive Director of Business Development and Industry Engagement. And we talked at the leadership team level about a vision to create a business and innovation hub on campus. We have 135,000 square feet, a gorgeous building.
Great
it's
building.
LEED certified. You know, you're in the Berry Center, which is the top LEEDs. It's just gorgeous in there. It's great. And we wanted to be able to have businesses and technology organizations and companies incubate with us, run their business out of here, create that energy, but also be able to use Walsh College's space for that as well. And so we were so happy and grateful that Imagine saw that vision too.
Nice.
And they said, wow, this would be really great to co-locate on a campus with students and with faculty and with that type of energy and talent. And Paul Glantz is an alum of Walsh, our Master of Science of Tax. So we have them upstairs, and that's going very well. And then we have UTEC, and you came to us and said, look, we want some offices in Troy. This is perfect. We have parking, so that's incredible. And then we'll talk about the podcast studio that's coming out of that. And then the Troy Chamber, when they saw the energy on campus and we began talking to their president and CEO, Tara, and we might do a follow-up with her, they saw the vision for having a chamber and a business and technology college as well. So this is vision. Because if you were to compare us to other, let's say, commercial properties, we might score highly, but we might not. We didn't have a lot of the amenities that maybe other properties do because that wasn't our main goal. We're getting them now. We're having food on campus. We're having other things because of all the activity.
Well, I thought about this. We're going to fix it on the way in.
Yes.
You got to go cut golf holes in the floor.
There you go. Yeah, you could have a little 9-hole putting green. Yeah, we could have that for sure. We could put a golf simulator. We've talked about a golf simulator. Eric would love that.
We're doing that.
You're doing that? Oh my gosh, that's the podcast studio. You just haven't told me. Yeah. So we'll go to that in a second. But what I want to share is that it really creates that entrepreneurial energy, and then the business and technology and college and companies are integrated. And that is an almost like, you could say, a microcosm prototype of this venture fund. It's finding business solutions to higher education conundrums or challenges, and to find higher education can help businesses with that. Now, to the podcast studio. Yeah. So then what we said was, wow, we're already, this is so...
Here comes the close.
Well, what you're doing here is great, right? Yeah. And we wanted to build something on our campus so we could highlight our alums, we could have students come in, we could have companies come in. So, we had vision. We have Jay Kruger, who's been incredible with this. He has such a great background with the marketing space, the entertainment space. Yeah. And we designed this podcast studio, and we talked with you all, and you said, well, this is what we do. This is what we build. And in fact, Kevin doesn't even know this, but he's saying, we're going to even offset the cost. No, we're going to even build this out for you, and we're going to put our name on it because we see the vision so much. And then that's going to empower the chamber members to come through. They have over 700 members, and it's going to take us to the next level. In fact, I've even been talking to another company about moving some of their podcasts to our area. So the traffic, the visibility, all of it. And then you all could do some of your shows from there as well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic medium. It's the really the last remaining medium that you can have a long form discussion about an important topic. You can't really do it in cable anymore because that's filled with sound bites.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Newspapers are kind of right, and people who are clicking on websites are. But with a podcast, with an interested audience, they're out driving in, or they're walking.
Yeah, or exercising. Like I love to listen to podcasts when I'm exercising. Sometimes I'll put it on 1.25 speed or although I don't think anybody would put me on 1.25 speed. Who knows?
You'd be out the door.
I want to meet those people. But yeah, no, I agree. And it also is a great way for us to do some content marketing, some real authentic stuff. We had a person come through at CISO in a big company, and she was talking about our programs being so incredibly applied. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to bring her into the studio, have her talk about this, shoot a film, and then there you go. So it's also a great marketing avenue for companies because content marketing has such a high return. We can offer that to them. So it's like, come and use our studio. Right. And they would see UTEC all over it. So you're going to get all of that. And then they're going to say, wow, we want to build this on our, we want to do this here. So our goal is to help you elevate your vision and your business because we go along with you. We're part of that now, and we're all colleagues and partners.
Yeah, we fully agree. And we're running the same direction. Yeah. We're in the same book, same
and you're
chapter,
our flagship technology company. That's what's so cool is so you put the vision out there, right? Business and technology, and UTEC comes along. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's technology. This is perfect for university services. And you couldn't, so it is eerie. You almost, like you watch this stuff happen and you're thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? Am I watching a movie play out? The power of vision. And then you begin to attract people that are in harmony with that vision.
100% in agreement.
So I'm sitting here, Johnny, loving this, enjoying this. I know you are too. I can see you smiling there, working the board. But two thoughts come to mind. Could you imagine being her husband, man? You would never get anything done. She'd have so many projects where you couldn't keep up with this thing. And I got to think that I'm hearing you say that you wish you were a car mechanic because you just don't like your job, do you?
You want to imagine me as a car mechanic, yeah. No, I absolutely love it. It's not even a job. It really is a mission. Yeah. And I joke with my board chair. I shouldn't say this, but I said, I would do this job for nothing. I would pay to do this job. And they're like, oh, really? And I was like, well, hold on, no, because it truly is. And you know that. And that's my biggest role and my biggest hope is that I can help to instill that in everybody in the organization. Because I know what it's like to show up and have jobs, even in service merchandise, as much as I love what I did, where you just didn't feel connected to the mission. And I take strong ownership of that and believe that's part of my role in building the culture. Right. Not everybody may have the same zeal, and that's okay. Right. But to be able to feel like everyone in our organization, every single person in enrollment, in advancement, in financial aid, in student services, faculty, everyone, staff that are doing incredible things, the marketing, they're all facilities that keeps up our beautiful area. Those folks are all part of this mission, and they're a critical part of it. And every single day they get up, and they're so proud to work for Walsh. And I want to maintain that for them and for our students and alumni. I want our alumni to feel so proud in the next 100 years. Like, I went to Walsh College. I was proud already, but look at this now,
So when you go to the educational conferences and you gather with all your colleagues, do they just hate you because, like, you're at such a different level than so many of them?
So first, do I go to educational conferences? Probably not as many as you'd think, because I want to be around the business conferences. But yeah, no, I'm probably talking and they're going, you know what, that doesn't work for us, or that moves too fast. There's a joke on campus, and I have to be careful because I can move too quickly sometimes, called Suzy Time, which is quick, right? Which is like, well, how can we put that on Suzy Time, you know? And I think in life, sometimes we can move faster than we think. We get in our own way. So I always say, like, take your goals, cut them in half. You can do them in half the year. You can do them in half the time. And generally, we can get there. It's not always easy, but that's how you grow.
What I love about you is we've been around a lot of educators and in our families, and we believe in important people. But so often they're afraid to take chances, and they're afraid to go try something for failing. And you guys are like, we're just going to do it. And A, we're not going to fail. But B, if we do, we're not afraid to change course.
Okay. So it's so funny you said that. So look, at the lawyer and me, I don't like to fail. And I have a lot of fear around that. And I have a lot of fear sometimes around, and I'm candid with my team on this. What are people going to think, right? Because as a leader, especially as the president, there's no one to blame but them, right? I mean, so at the end of the day, even if someone isn't happy with their supervisor, they're going to look at me and go, why isn't she doing something else? So I get that, and that's a heavy responsibility. There is that fear as well. Yet there's two things. One is I have such trust in my team. And you kind of change and adapt and adjust through that. So we have systems in place now that if we start to see failure, we can adjust. Right. There really isn't going to be this catastrophic thing. And even when we start to see things like what we're seeing with financial aid and the cost of education, we are thinking ahead and saying, okay, how do we come out of it? So a lot of it isn't even confidence. It's just a commitment to the mission and saying, look, I'm going to keep doing this through failure because this is more important than me. And even if I don't have any aspirations to do this anywhere else. People think, well, where do you want to go next to be president? I want to stay right here. Are you kidding? This is Walsh College. There's nothing else like Walsh. This is the best college.
I used to run past it.
Yeah, I mean, this has been part of my history in many ways. Part of my child, it's been involved in my ecosystem of a business and technology entrepreneurial college. And so when I think about that, you can't really be afraid of fear. You have to be mindful, but you have to say, look, and then I also surround myself with people that if I'm going off the rails, they'll tell me. Like my leadership team, I have a couple of people that they have no problem saying, Suzy, don't do that. That's a dumb idea. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. What should we do? But then they take extreme ownership. The other piece of that is I'm part of a mastermind group, Dan Sullivan's strategic coach. I just joined them. I finished one. I had 2 overlapping coaching programs for a while, so that was fun. And they are always good about, like, I'll run things by the group and say, okay, are you worried about this? Okay, yeah, but here's how you could do it. Let me give you one quick example. This is so important because we're so excited about this. Hiring. How many people are afraid to hire people because, oh my goodness, they were great on the interview. Their resume looked great. Then look what happened, right? And so we've had a couple situations where that's happened. We've had some really great people. They came in, and then all of a sudden they get in and we're like, this is not working. So we have a new director of HR and people operations, and we set a vision in that area, and we said, look, how can you help us attract and retain people and then build runways for them so if it's not working, we have a transition, time frame. And one thing we use, and I credit one of our board members, Jerry Schaefer, for this, is the Ideal Team Player Framework, Patrick Lencioni. He has this book. He talks about Ideal Team Player, Hungry, Humble, Smart, and he gives you interview questions you can use. And we started using those in interviews, and it was incredible, the talent that rose to the top that wouldn't have necessarily come through if we had applied traditional, conventional frameworks. By the way, conventional frameworks get you conventional results. There's nothing conventional about it. So I share that because we have taken the sting out of the worry and fear around hiring, because we have that, we have vision, we have 30, 60, 90 goals. I'm on 30, 60, 90 goals, so I have to perform. And that helps you build a culture of accountability and radical responsibility and radical drive for the mission. Because folks that don't want to do that, they're not going to be attracted and they're not going to stay.
Right. Yeah.
So I share that because how do you get through fear? You got to embrace the vision and say, if I'm going to be successful, how might I create a runway that I know the plane is going to take off? But that is tough at times. And being a president in 2023, college president, I mean, oh my goodness, people are biting the dust right and left, and you're like, okay, you just keep going. And I knew that this mission is bigger than me. And I was like, I will do this for as long as I'm doing well for my team, for the community, for the students, for the alumni, of course, the board. Although I love our board, but I think to myself, I work for the Walsh students and alumni. Those are my people and my community. And of course the board, but my priority is to take care of the ship.
Right. Hey,
I love it.
Kev, because we're kind of running up on our timeline, but we typically ask, what's your favorite bourbon? Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of where bourbon flavor.
We're simple guys.
But but I want to ask a different question and then have you expound on it so we can take some time answering this. Number one, what's your favorite business / technology oriented book that you've read?
My favorite business / technology oriented book. I mean, Ideal Team Player is right up there. I will tell you, that's definitely right up there. And I would say The Power of Habit, because I think that's an important book to say. I mean, there's so many. In fact, on my bookshelf, I have a lot, but you're asking my favorite. I would say the reason I like that is I come back to that when I'm having stressors or when I'm having issues. I'm like, okay, build the habit, build it deep, because there's a subconscious component to it. But I will say this, there's another one called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And it's a very simple book, but yet it talks about how many times the very thing that's standing in front of us as the challenge is the way forward. So for example, we see things as gifts, not as problems. I mean, in a radical way, problems are just situations. So the cost conundrum of higher education, the regulations that might be coming down from the Department of Ed, the restrictions on financial aid, that's a gift. The obstacle is the way forward for us to think even bigger. And we're going to look back and go, I'm so glad that happened. I mean, I'm already happy it happened, right? It gives me that urgency. I'm so glad that happened because now we can go to the next level.
I was joking. We were in a meeting a couple of weeks ago about of an emerging problem, and my line when I run into this is, hey, if your ability to solve a problem is to decide, do I put the bread on the bottom of the bag or the cans? You know, if that's your level of decision, then that's kind of where you're going to rise. So you got to work on that ability to tackle the problem and just make the decision. But a lot of people get stuck trying to figure out, do I put bread on the bottom or do I put cans on the bottom?
Interesting. I like that analogy. Yeah.
And Ann says, well, I've gotten a lot of smashed bread in my life. That was really quick.
Well, you know, one other thing too, you asked me the technology, and I didn't really give you an answer. I gave you a lawyer answer. Well, it depends. And here's the other piece. One of the books I read that my colleague recommended was The Goal by Eli Goodrat, and talks about the theory of constraints. And I'm really glad I did, because an innovator and a visionary person that I tend to be, that I can fall into very quickly, sometimes I can just think, we'll figure out how to do the process. And this was a good balance and check on me to say, no, theory of constraints. So part of my role is to keep shiny objects away and to keep us and the team massively focused on the goal.
Right.
And to help that when the board calls and someone says, hey, have you thought about this? Or someone has an idea, and I'm always willing to listen to ideas. And you even experienced that with me when we first came in to talk. I said, well, hold on, let's focus on the, because I've learned that there is a theory of constraints. You don't want to burn people out as you're innovating. So that's another thing where you have to learn that balance. And this role has been incredible for me. It's been almost like another degree, if not 2 degrees, learning how to lead, learning how to change. I mean, I will change anything about myself if it makes me better for the role and for the students, the alumni, the team, and learning how to get through tough times. And those will pass. I mean, they're not fun. I wish they could be fun.
That's a heady book. That's not the goal. There's not a lot of woo-woo.
No, it's a very, but there is and there isn't, but you still have the goal, right? And then it's like, how do you get there? And what I like about it is you can apply that to any type of a framework. So that's how you take vision and get action. Because, I mean, ideas are great. Execution is worshipped.
Yep.
Well, let's do this. Let's plug your 3 books, and then we'll put that stuff at the end, too.
That was the next
on
thing.
the links
3
on
books.
there.
Well, I'll be very brief about
that was
it.
my next question, is of the ones that you've written.
Yes.
And give us a little brief synopsis.
Yeah, sure.
And if you have a favorite, which is kind of difficult with children, it's like children, right?
Yeah, if I have a favorite.
Yeah.
If I had to say a favorite, I would say it's the Thrive Journal. And this is so the two are books, and then one is a journal that has maybe about 30 pages of writing that explains the neuroscience behind the Thrive framework. And Thrive stands for timing, handwriting, repetition, imagination, visualization, and emotion. And there is neuroscience backing up each one of those in the framework I talk about on how to set goals and how to actually see results, because you're actually using the power of the brain, the subconscious mind. So Thrive is something I give to all the leaders. I give to all of my colleagues. I say, use this journal. I use it every night. It's how you begin to move the needle subconsciously, because leaders want change quickly. And the belief systems that we have in the subconscious mind, those have been there a long time. Right. And it takes a long time when you use conventional tools. This is not conventional. It's basically subconscious mind reprogramming in the way that you want. So I like Thrive because you get results quickly. You don't even have to believe it works. Just follow the steps, because it can't not happen. Okay. Locus. Locus of control, my book on locus, talks about why that works. So if somebody reads Thrive and they're like, look, I don't need to know the reason, I just want to do Thrive, great. If they say, what is behind this? This is great, locus. And then chief energy officer, and by the way, locus tells you really have about 95% control over your life. And the greatest example of this, you know him, is Eric. When we interviewed Eric, we asked him what I call the locus question. In any given day, what percentage, 0 to 100, do you feel in your life you have control over your decisions, your choices, the things that happen to you? He said like 95, 98%, right? And that's what you want, right? I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I don't know. I get up and there's traffic. And right now, those people are in the breakdown. And I mean, I know I had to shift too.
Because I was like, on the berm.
Yeah, pass them on the bird, right. And you want people that say, now, this doesn't mean that they're arrogant control freaks. It just means that they know, hey, like, for example, I got here early today because I chose to leave early. I didn't say, oh, there was traffic, so I got here late, right? Okay. Then chief energy officer takes this to the next level, and it says, okay, if you believe and you understand how your locus of control works, that control mechanism in your brain, how do you show up as a leader in such a way that is not like the typical CEO, that really builds high-performing teams and brings that energy to work? And it actually talks about energy on the scientific realm. So it's not just like about, oh, wow, we're really happy today and excited. It's what type of energy do you bring? What is the actual resonance of it? So I would say if you're in the C-suite or you want to be in the C-suite, and even that terminology I don't love, but we all know what that means, read chief energy officer. But if you're really interested in the neuroscience of how to goal set and why things haven't worked before, do Thrive and Locus.
Nice.
So to answer your question that you did ask.
All three.
Which of our 3 favorite kids is the one that graduates from Walsh College so they can afford to move out of the house?
Yeah. They're already out when they come to it. That's no, but I think that those are why I like those. They're short. I mean, and those that know me, and I've said this before on podcasts, they're like, wow, you write emails longer than these books, but they're not long books for a reason. They're bite-sized, I think 150, 170 page books, and they're small, and you can get through them because I want people to learn, get change. I mean, if you don't get change, what's the point?
Right.
And this helps you get change quickly. And it's like the amalgamation of all the neuroscience, like just follow this plan, it'll work.
All right, Suzy, we'll do part 2 here. We got to come back and do another one. But
Yes!
Thank you for your time.
Will.
Thank you for your
so
partnership
much, Kevin.
and your trust
Thank
with
you,
us.
Les.
This one's going to be
Thank you for building our podcast studio.
Yes.
It's a significant investment. We're very grateful. Very grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.